Hey, what is going on? It is Basic Bros Reactions here, and today we're doing something that we've never done before. So come and join this experience with us. I don't know how this is gonna go, but for the first time ever, we're gonna be doing an album review. And I guess in this case, we should say a mini album. And we're gonna be doing it to channel favorite BLACKPINK. That's right, BLACKPINK in your area. And for their third mini album, Deadline. And so if you're new to this channel, we do reactions to K-pop and all styles of music, and one of our channel staples is BLACKPINK. We've been following along on their journey since they debuted back in 2016 with the global hit Boombayah and Whistle, and they just have taken the world by storm. And so we're really excited to kind of give a review and see what they've been given with their new mini album Deadline. And like I said, this is their third one, and they've had a couple of years where they have been kind of going and working on solo material. Three of them releasing albums, Jisoo doing a mini album and getting into acting. And so the anticipation is high for them to come back together and see what they have in store, because they are one of the top, not only girl groups in K-pop, but girl groups period, with global tours. And so we've been really excited to see what they're gonna have, what they have in store with Deadline. And coming into this, once again, they've had like kind of what people would consider as signature style, because they work with producer Teddy, who's been a key component to crafting their sound. And so a lot of people who felt a little bit burnt out on it, but I don't know, I love it. I love the sound that they have, and so we're just wondering what they're gonna have in store with this album, Deadline. And you know, coming back together after spending so much time apart and really crafting their own individual sound, to come back together as one after you had all these lived experience on your own, is very intriguing to see the direction that they decide to go with this mini album. Coming into this album, I'm not gonna lie, and I think like most Blinks, I was a little bit worried about what not only YG, but what the girls had planned for this. It seemed like from the very beginning when they re-signed with YG that things just didn't seem to be as a clear direction on what they were trying to do and what they were going to be doing for the future. And when they decided to go on the world tour, the Deadline world tour, before releasing any actual new music, there were a lot of warning signs. And I'm afraid going into this album and checking out the stuff, I think that we had good reasons to to be a little bit worried. And while this is by no means a horrible album or anything like that, it just did not feel like a big step and big strides for them as a group, when we've seen them make such big strides as individual in crafting their own sounds with their with their albums and the material that they've been releasing as solo artists. So the mini album kicks off with their pre-release single, Jump. And just like the title says, I feel like this song will have you jumping up and down in the club. Like, this was meant to be a big anthem song. Like, I could feel like I could hear this as like a World Cup anthem. And what I like about this song is I feel like it is a bridge between the old BLACKPINK sound and some experimental, some new stuff kind of brought in. And so it was kind of a really good melding. You had one of their tried and true producers, Teddy, on the track, but you also had Diplo, which you can also hear the influence of Diplo in this track. And it has an interpolation of a classic EDM song, which you can definitely hear throughout it. I did enjoy the song. When I first heard it, I didn't gravitate towards it as much, but as I listened to it more, it grew on me. I feel like it's one of those songs that the more you listen to it, you'll kind of enjoy it for what it is. I did like that the chorus kind of had like that anti-drop, but I did wish that they did a little bit more with the chorus. And also, I do understand that while not necessarily looking for a ton of harmonies or, you know, vocal layering with BLACKPINK, I do feel like there could have been some room for that in this track. But like I said, I do feel, like I said, it is a more evolved version of like Boombayah, and it just has that fun, creative energy that I think that when you look into that song from that perspective, it delivers. Although, once again, it leaves a little bit to be desired from the vocals and from the lyrics. Moving to the next track, we have Go, which is their title track off of Deadline. And with this, it has productions from David Guetta, who is for me myself pretty hit or miss. He usually does pretty well, but can sound a little redundant. But I do enjoy the sound of Go. This sounds like, I love that it fits into the world of like Jump. I feel like it's Jump's older sister that's a little bit more sophisticated, maybe, you know, studied abroad, but it still fits in that same world. And so I really enjoyed that. It starts off with the soft vocals from Rose and Lisa that really kind of draws you in, and then it has the commanding voices from Jennie and Jisoo, and then it goes into the chorus with another anti-drop, but the chorus has great production, but once again, it did leave a little bit to be desired with it being another empty chorus, even though the beat switch up was really, really cool. And then for the second verse, they go into something that's, you know, kind of a tradition for BLACKPINK, where we have Jennie and Lisa rapping and trading bars, which is always, you know, good, always enjoyable, but a little bit predictable. And then they did the same pre-chorus and the same, once again, chorus for the second time without very much of a switch up, which once again could have been a change to do a little bit of a beat change, add a little bit extra sound, do something with the production a little bit more. But then, like I said, they had the bridge, and the bridge was so beautiful with Jennie and Rose. This sounded like something that would come off of Rose's, like her solo album. Just really enjoyed that. And I do know that Chris Martin from Coldplay had a part in that production, and the bridge sounds like something like I would hear from not only Rose, but like Coldplay, which I really, really enjoyed. So I thought that this was a really unique sound. Like it still gave me BLACKPINK energy, but it was a more sophisticated, refined sound from them, which was really cool to hear. Even though, once again, it wasn't my favorite track off of it, I did enjoy them playing around with the soundscape but still kind of keeping it in the BLACKPINK world, but switching it up a little bit. And we kind of hit a wall, because the next track up is Me and My, and this is probably my least favorite, well, not probably, this is my least favorite track on this mini album, and I feel like one of the weakest tracks that BLACKPINK has released, which, once again, I feel like BLACKPINK has a strong discography, so even when the weak songs are still pretty solid, but this was one of the weakest songs I've heard from them. This was one of the kind of a hip hop beat, very minimalistic, that was more, gave the chance for rappers Lisa and Jennie to shine, but not really given much for Rose or Jisoo to do. And this is part of when I started to be like, where's Jisoo at with this album? Because I wasn't hearing very much from her, and then this track just kind of solidified that. But with this track, it just doesn't really bring much to the table. I feel like, you know, although BLACKPINK has made songs like this before, the other songs are a lot better. You know, you can look at something like Pretty Savage or Type of Girl, and they do this whole kind of bragging, my crew, you know, all that a lot better than this track. And so this track was very disappointing. And then even with like the lyrics, you know, that's my girl when I call her bitch, it was just like, oh, you know, it just left a lot to be desired, and definitely not a track that I would, you know, come back to listen to. And it was honestly just kind of very disappointing track, because usually even when BLACKPINK does their mini albums, EPs and stuff, they have such a tight, like their discography is so good that even when they don't release as much content, it's such solid quality that you really enjoy it. And it's like, oh, well, we're not getting many songs, but the songs are so good. But this one was just a very big disappointment to me. So the next track we have is Champion, and Champion was co-written by EJ from the famed K-pop Demon Hunter. And you can tell that this song totally fits into that realm. It started off with kind of this pop rock sound, which was really cool. It was really refreshing, and I really enjoyed kind of the more laid back, chill vibe that it had going on with it. And I loved the basically, it was kind of like going along the lines of like Me and Mine, where it's kind of talking about, you know, that confidence and your crew and everything. And I felt like this was a better version of that lyrically, but it did feel very kind of clunky when we went from the verse to the chorus. It didn't transition very smoothly, and so that left a little bit to be desired. But I did enjoy the bridge when it kind of brought in some hyper pop elements. Was really cool to hear. And so this overall was a solid track, although once again slightly on the generic side. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't, once again, it wasn't my favorite track, but it wasn't bad. It, like I said, it feels like if you would have told me that this song was on the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack, I'd be like, yes, this fits right into that world. So that was cool to see. Once again, Blackpink's take on that. But once again, it did feel kind of like been there, done that before, if we're being completely honest. And we moved to the final track, Fuckboy. And I was getting really, really worried going into this, because although Blackpink doesn't get as much acknowledgement for their mid/low tempo songs that they do, they release some really great ones. And it seems like on every mini album, they have like one or two that really stands out and really takes you there emotionally. And I remember even when I was first getting into Blackpink, towards their debut year, one of my favorite songs from them, and even to this day, is Stay. And so I always love when they take a second and they bring it back and really deliver on the emotions, because they can really draw you into the song and with their voices and with just their presence. And so I was getting worried, because I was like, I'm not hearing my Tally, I'm not hearing my happiest girl in the world, you'll never know. Like, I'm not hearing this sound yet. And so I was worried that, you know, especially when they saw Fuckboy, I was like, oh man, I don't know if we're gonna get that, because I thought it might be more of a hip hop song. But I love just the laid back, the stripped sound of this with just the guitar and them singing, and they're talking about kind of switching the gender roles and everything. It just lyrically was so cool and so beautiful, and I think it was a perfect way to end the album. I thought that it was a really solid song. Like I said, it felt, like I said, in line with those other mid-tempo songs that they do so well. And so I just really enjoyed just them getting a chance to really showcase their voices, and like I said, really bring you in to their world and what they're feeling and what their thoughts are. And I felt like this was a very mature song too, because that's what I was starting to feel with a little bit of the kind of the middle of the album. Was I was like, oh, this is kind of like, you know, where's the evolution, where some heartfelt stuff. And so they brought it in just when I was about to down them a little bit. But of course, you know, I should know not to doubt Blackpink. They were gonna come through. So what are my overall thoughts on this Blackpink Deadline mini album? I'm very conflicted. I do enjoy that they tried some different sounds and tried to do some different things, but at the same time, it's kind of like, after waiting almost 3 years, this didn't live up to the expectations that I had, just to be completely honest, because I felt like even some of the past projects that they've done were stronger overall presentation of work and with more songs. And I felt like if we were just going to get 5 songs, I expected them to be just 5 just top-notch songs. And I didn't need them to all be bangers or anything like that, but I thought with each one would be like, you know, they would really bring something to the table. If not new, it would be really strong. And I can't quite say that. Like I said, it had one of the worst songs I feel like Blackpink has done, at least in the last couple of years, on it with Me and Mine. But it did have some really cool things going on with like Go. I thought that was such an interesting song, and Jump really brings that party vibe, and Fuck Boy was just so beautiful. So I do think that it had some really strong points, but overall it did leave a little bit to be desired. And especially with how everything was going leading into Deadline with the tour and just the promotions and everything, with them not performing the songs live, like not even on any stage or anything like that. It just didn't, it was missing some of that love and care I feel like people were somewhat expecting. And even me, as somebody who is a Blink, who is a Blink, I did, want and expect just a little bit more. But I guess if I had to overall give it a rating, I would give it 6.5 going towards a 7. It has some very solid moments, but just overall, I was just expecting a little bit more, but I do think that it was solid, and I'm very intrigued to see what the future has for Blackpink. Like, are they going, because I know that their contract is supposed to expire, I think, at the end of this year. So it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, I give them a 6.5 to a 7 too, because I feel like even their individual work was a lot stronger, not only with the sounds that they've created and everything. So I was expecting a little bit more of that. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the album. What would you rate it? What was your favorite track on it? Just let's have a discussion. Let's talk about, let's chit chat. If you think I'm wrong, which I'm not, but if you think I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe button, and ding that bell so you get notified whenever we are dropping reactions. And this is Basic Bros Reactions.